Alex, I want to work for you. Like, can I get a job? Like, I know I'm young, but can I please get a job? I want to learn from you. Like,
How much are you getting there? I know.
I closed my laptop, I sat on my bed, and like a few tears started rolling down because I'm like, I've arrived. Like, this is it. It's like because I'm already signed, and like clearly it's a sign from God that I must become a CA.
Hey guys, welcome to our village. We are full on go season 2 of this segment of interviews with the professionals. But you know what? I think this needs to be tea with the villagers, guys. I think that's what we need to call it, tea with the villagers. So we're not going to do that for this season, but definitely for next season, this is going to be tea with the villagers because our guests are really giving us the tea. Today, I have Anele. She is a tech consultant. We want to know, guys, what is a tech consultant? Anele, guys, holds a Bachelor of Science honors degree, right, measuring in informatics from the University of Cape Town. We are so delighted to have Anele today. Let's welcome her. Hi, Anele. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Please greet our village. I'm not alone. You need to recognize our village.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Anele. I'm so excited to be on this week's episode and hope you guys all learned something valuable from this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anele. I know you've been traveling. You just came back from London. How was it? Was that business or pleasure?
It was for work, but I must say it was incredibly cold. When I landed, it was like 0 degrees, and then the hottest it got was like 5 degrees. So I'm quite happy to be back, I must say. Like I'm not wearing layers, so it's quite nice.
Okay. Was it your first international trip?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't my first. It was my third this year. But yeah, still nonetheless, still felt like a tourist. It was amazing. So can't complain at all.
Okay. Wow. Okay. No, that's fantastic. Anele, tell us, what is a tech consultant?
Great. So when I get asked this question, it depends what it depends how someone is asking it. So the way that I frame it, or from my experience, is that it's tech consulting is essentially you're still a consultant, but now you're using tech to solve business problems. So whatever that problem could be, optimization, um, like if any sort of problem that a business can have, I come in and I use tech to solve it. So I could be using an existing software, such as maybe your Azure Suite products, Salesforce, to come solve it as a functional consultant. Or I could be
Okay.
more on the tech strategy end where I could be using a range of products to just solve that problem or even create a product. So essentially I just solve business problems with tech on the most basic level.
Okay. Okay, solving business problems with tech. This girl is so young, guys. I'm just gonna expose her age. She's only 24. Already, she has done so much. She's already solving business problems. You know, you would think that type of job will be more suitable for people with more experience or much older or have been in the industry longer. So, yeah, guys. So, just for context, she's quite young and she's already doing big things. Anele, tell us about your degree in business science, measuring in information systems. What is that? You know, what can I expect from it?
That is a great question. So just a disclaimer. So when I just matriculated, the first degree that I did, I started off in a business science, but I majored in finance with accounting. Back then, I didn't know you could study tech degrees or anything related to tech. So that was what I started
Okay.
off with, doing accounting. Then I only switched to majors in my end of my second year when I figured out that, oh my gosh, there's information systems, there's comp sci. So what you can expect from a business science, so essentially the first 2 years of a business science, essentially it's the same, more or less the same across all specialties. So what you'll be doing in finance and
Mm.
accounting will be the same thing as someone who's doing stats or someone who's doing marketing will be doing. So it's core business topics like your statistics, your maths, your economics, your finance and your accounting, like those are standard. So just for you to have an all-rounded idea of what a business entails or business operations. And then when you get
Okay.
into your third year and your fourth year, that's where you specialize. So as mentioned,
Oh,
I decided to specialize in information systems. So from my third year, that's essentially when I started with like in-depth coding. So that's when we started getting clients and building a solution from scratch through interacting with clients. So we went through the whole development life cycle as like a team of four. So got more in-depth knowledge, but at the same time, we were still doing some of the core business topics also third year and in fourth year. So in business science, you graduate honors level. So
okay.
still, yeah, so there isn't a explicit like graduation after third year, then you do honors. You just graduate once at the end um, with your honors. But now in your honors year, there's an additional course that you do that other people who do BCom don't get, which is, I must say, the most valuable course that I did at UCT, called strategic thinking. And essentially, what I walked away with from that degree, I walked away with business acumen, which also helps a lot in consulting, whether it be the non-technical consulting cases or even some of the more technical consulting cases. And I also walked away with a high level understanding of tech concepts and, should I say, technical infrastructure. So it wasn't as detailed as, say, as my counterparts, who most of them ended up going into software developer roles. But for me, I found it was the perfect, the most beautiful mix to go into tech consulting because I was equally balanced business and tech. And honestly, switching majors to information systems is still the best decision I've ever made in my life, just to put it out there.
Okay. So, am I correct to say someone who did exactly what you did, they can also get into software development, but the added advantage is they understand the business side. They are not just technical only.
Yes, you're correct to say that someone could go into software development or consulting. Actually, you could actually go into anything, if I'm being completely honest. But obviously not like your
Mhm.
finance and your accounting. But there are
Okay.
so many options for you in terms of careers. So that's why it's so important for you to like kind of figure yourself what you want to do even in uni. But I must say it's similar. If someone did a business science majoring in computer science, they would also have the same set of options. But if they did the computer science, say the BSc route, maybe
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, they wouldn't have the same balance in terms of business acumen and technical knowledge. They'd probably be stronger on the technical end. But they could still, once
Mm.
again, go into consulting, which is why even consulting, it's filled with engineers, if I'm being honest.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
can you give us maybe another example? Like, what would you have done if you're not a tech consultant? Like, what other options? One or two?
cool. So I definitely could have gone into core consulting, such as management consulting. I could have gone into
Okay.
that. I could have gone into the route of saying being a business analyst, like business analyst as a profession on its own. That is an option.
Okay. Mhm.
And I could have also gone into product. So even with my earlier jobs, they were in product because you sort of being exposed into product development, product cycles,
Mhm.
when you're doing information systems. So yeah.
Mm. Okay. No, I wanted to ask you, was it hard to find your niche? But I already know the answer. It was not hard. I think when you were during your third year, you already knew that you want to get into tech. So it was not hard for you. How did you come to that decision that, you know what, this is the niche I'm taking?
So there's this book that I once read called Mastery by
Mhm.
Robert Greene. And there's this one specific chapter that I remember reading in second year, which actually made me say, oh my gosh, no, I need to move. I need to get out of here. It's not clicking.
Okay.
Basically, what the chapter says is how to find your area of mastery or to find your niche, you need to look back into things that you did as a child and things that you enjoyed. So what were the things that
Mhm.
piqued your curiosity? What are the things that you looked at the TV and you're like, yo, wow, like this is it. And
Okay.
like for the longest time, it's for me, it's always been things that have to do with tech or with building things. And even businesses. So like even asking my
Mhm.
parents, they'll always be like, yo, you always wanted to build this, you wanted to build that, you loved sci-fi, you loved this, you loved that. So it was always something that I was
Mhm.
aware of. But at the time, like I read the book, I was already questioning my fit in finance with accounting because I'm starting to be a CA. I'd already gotten my training contracts in grade 11 at the time with KPMG. So it was like, okay, I need to do this because I'm already signed. And like clearly it's a sign from God that I must become a CA. So
Okay.
I had taken that path, but like first year, second year, I'm doing this, but I felt like my curiosity wasn't being picked the way that I wanted it to be picked. So like I
Okay.
didn't feel like I was being challenged enough because with
Okay.
accounting, from my perspective, it's very copy and paste. You don't have much leeway to express your creativity, to find different solutions or to problem solve
Mhm.
outside the box from what I was experiencing in
Yeah.
my first year and second year. And at the time, the small exposure I got to information systems wasn't even adequate to describe the opportunities that lie within it. I only just want, wanted to find out more when I started speaking to different people who were studying it, started doing more research. And then I
Mhm.
had a mate at the time who sat down with me and like kind of helped me structure out courses like, okay, you have to extend your degree by a year, but this is how you're going to do it. You put these courses here, you
Mhm.
do this, you have points to transfer here. And like even just looking at the courses that they were doing, like in further years, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really
This
cool.
is
Like
cool.
I want to do this. Yeah, like I want to see it because like when I looked at finance with accounting, I'm like, yo, okay, 2 more years to go, then we're done. 2 more years, 2 more years. But I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to already, if I'm depressed now, upset doing what I'm doing. Imagine now when I'm working, I'm I am going to have an awful life. And I couldn't picture that for myself. I'm like, I'm going to be so sad and miserable.
You
And
know, Anele, it's funny that you mentioned this because people, I don't know how long you've known, like been exposed to my content, but people always think I don't like accounting people or I don't like accountants, whatever. I'm more, I like tech people or I like tech careers. They have this thing that I always promote tech careers. And guys, it's not true. Maybe that's the piece of content that you came across. But Anele, tell us, do you think, do you think your degree is in demand in South Africa right now?
oh, 1000%, 1000%. Any like specifically like a tech degree, but yet alone, even coming from like UCT, it can help you a lot, like even on an international
Hmm.
level, I must say.
So 1000% it's in do I need maths?
Yes, you do need maths. Yeah.
Okay, okay. How did you get your first internship?
My first internship, okay. I love telling this story. So my first
Okay.
internship, essentially, a mate of mine had gotten me involved in volunteering at this conference, an investors conference. So I went there for fun because I'm like, this is cool. Like I get to be exposed to people in the startup ecosystem that obviously I look up to and people that I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be like you at some point. So I'm like, let me go help out. Also seems like a fun opportunity because also free food at the time, like students, you're just gonna go for vibes and like it's fun.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
went there, and during that time, like I think when I got to uni, my passion for startups got heightened a lot because I was just being exposed to like these amazing minds where people had their own startups, like tech startups, or they were building something, or it was already up and
Yeah.
running. So it just opened
Yeah.
my eyes. More like, oh my gosh, there's so much out there. Because I think back home, I didn't get much exposure to this kind of stuff. So now when you're having people from different walks of life in different areas and you just being exposed to it, you're like, oh my gosh, like people are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So I went there and then I saw this one lady and he's like, okay, cool. This is a lady, she's in charge of the whole thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to be her. She's like, and he's like, just go speak to her. So I'm thinking like, okay, like I think now looking back, we probably didn't mean it the way that I interpreted it. But I literally during the day I was helping a lot. I was even like trying to help her, actively trying to help her. And then like towards the end of the night, I just went up to her and I'm like, Alex, I want to work for you. Like, can I get a job? Like, I know I'm young, but can I please get a job? I want to learn from you. Like, I just want to, get the exposure. And like, I was very blunt with her in terms of like my career aspirations, what I want to learn and everything. And she was like, okay, take my email, just email me your CV. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, she's probably just gonna ignore it or
You
whatever.
know?
But no, like I emailed her, and then the
Uh-huh.
following day she emailed me back to be like, okay, cool. Let's meet you on Tuesday. You're gonna meet my business partner, and we're just gonna have coffee and discuss this thing. And then I did that, and yeah, got my first internship, and then it just became recurring over the years.
You are getting a lot
Yes,
of exposure. How much are you getting there? I know you're getting a stipend, it's not a
yeah,
salary. Can you share with
yeah.
us?
So at the time, it was just 8,000 rand per month. So this
Really?
was when I was working full
That-
time.
That's so, that's so
Oh,
nice.
like
That was
so
a
this
nice
was
one.
yeah, it was really nice. I was very happy when I saw the contract. I called my mom. I'm like, "Yo, mom, I'm getting a big girl paycheck now." Like, because at the time I was just getting like how much from Nest was like a cute little small amount, and my parents would like top
Yeah.
up. So,
Uh,
so yeah, like yeah, I started off with 8,000. That was when I was working full time, and then when I tried to continue working part time while I was also studying, and then it was like halved or based on how many hours I was working. So I was just billing by the
mm.
hour depending on what needed to be done. But then yeah, at some point I just stopped because I just wanted to like focus more on academics. So then I started again end of the year, then renegotiated my salary, and then so on.
So, Anele, I see you've been very busy. You've done a lot. You've even worked for a US-based company. You know, you've done quite a lot. Just take us through, like, which job or opportunity do you think, you know what, that made you feel like, you know what, this is my break, you know? Because I
Mm,
see you've done quite a few things. But which one do you feel that, you know what, I've landed Gemanje. You know, this is it. This is my break. This
I've
is
arrived.
it.
So, definitely that has to be when I worked for Baby, the US startup. So, that was, I think I remember my first week, there was this one call that I was in where we were essentially brainstorming how we were going to launch a new product feature. So I was in those calls. So it was a product engineering, some of the salespeople, and I forgot who else was there. So this call was there was even legal and compliance because the feature had to do with legalities and privacy and those topics. So I was in that call and like it was just like my first week. So I'd already done the onboarding, like, okay, this is how you check this is where you go. But like this is like my first call. And the entire call, like I am listening and my eyes are like this the entire time. And I could not even hold back my smile. Like I'm like smiling like slightly because I'm like, let me not show them that I'm so excited to be here. But I'm like smiling and I'm like, this is it. Like by the time the call ended, I closed my laptop, I sat on my bed, and like a few tears started rolling down because I'm like, I've arrived. Like this is it. Like I am feeling that click. Like when you're just in that moment and everything just makes sense. Like you just feel that click you've been craving, that click you've been expecting. And I remember even I texted my one mate at the time. I'm like, yo, no, this can only be God because
How did you get the job? How did it come about? That opportunity. How did it come about?
um
Because I know a lot of people they wanna work, you know, like for this remote, you know what I mean,
yeah,
you know, especially after COVID,
yeah.
but they just don't know how to navigate. How did it happen for you?
So how it happened for me, so during my time in uni, um so I was as I mentioned, I've always been passionate about startups, and I think that's a big component of how everything else unfolded in my life, which is why I'll keep mentioning it. So wherever I
Mm,
could get involved, I wanted to get involved in the startup community, whether it be meetups, whether it be talks. But
mm,
in my third year of university, created a society, which was a chapter of a larger,
mm,
broader, global startup ecosystem, actually the world's largest, called Startup Grind. So when
mhm,
so when my team and I had created Startup Grind, it had done really well. And then as a result from that, I was asked to step up to take up the Cape Town chapter, which was at the time like had 10,000 members and was like massive and one of the largest in the globally in terms of being active. So I had
okay.
taken over that and I had already like started like securing sponsorships. partnerships and so on during my time there. So
Mm-hmm.
there was this one opportunity I recall where they said, okay, we're going to have set up these sessions where people globally, you can meet the founder of Startup Grind, the guy who had the brains behind the whole global community, global organization. So it was like
Okay.
15, 30 minutes slots per person just to like pick his brain, like, how can we do this? How can we do that? Like, some people were
Okay.
asking him to feature on their chapter events and so on. But I went on the call. I just, chopped to him, chatted to him, like in terms of like, was just curious, like, how did you come about this? And like, just having a normal one-on-one. And
Mm.
then at the end of the call, and then towards the end of the call, then I asked, like, I want to work for you. Like, how do I do that? Like, I'm serious. I want to learn from you. And like,
You
I'm
are the
hungry.
best.
Like, I want to learn.
Guys, Anele, you know what? I've even forgotten that this is a YouTube video. I need to, guys, please like and share this video. We are having so much fun with Anele. I even forgot that this is a YouTube video. So while I'm doing this recording, I need to make sure that I remind you to drop us any questions, any compliments that you might have for Anele. Anele will come back to this video and watch it with you and respond to all your questions. I know by now we have a lot of questions for her. So please just leave them in the comment section and share this video with someone that might need it. Anele, I like you. I like you are so cute. Like in terms of like your confidence, our child. So you just tell the guy, listen, I want to work with you. How can we make this happen? And then what does the guy say?
So at first he seemed like shaken back, like, oh, she's asking me for a job. I'm like, yeah, like I'm studying. I have as much as you may think I don't have time. I have time. I want to learn, and I'm really
Yeah.
passionate about tech and community building. So I'm the best person. Like like even telling myself, like I'm good to have on your team for this platform that you're building on the side. Like I'm passionate
Okay.
people, tech. It makes sense.
Mm.
So he was like, okay, cool. Pop me an email, send me your CV. So at first I'm like, maybe he's joking. So
Okay.
I first sat for like a couple of hours. I went back to like doing some of my uni work and like doing some of that. So also at the time, like as I mentioned, I was also uh director of that startup grind chapter for Cape Town.
Yes.
So like I sat in bed and then like I went to sleep and then I woke up and I'm like, let me just send it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, let me just see it. So I send it through,
Okay.
I send my CV through, and then I go back to sleep. And then I wake up at like around 7:08, and there's a whole email thread where now this guy had looped someone else and like, hey, this JR, this is Anele, she's interested in joining product, then looped someone else in and so on. And then next thing I know, they're like, okay, cool, you have an interview in 2 days' time, like just to meet you and see what the vibe is. So I'm like, okay, fab, like let's do
It's
this.
happening.
Like it's happening. So I'm like, okay, let me not get excited yet. So I hop on the call, the initial call, and the guy that I first interviewed was the lead or the head of the product team at the time. So all of them were based in the
Okay.
States. There was just one other guy who was based in South Africa who, oh my gosh, one of the most amazing people I've also come across because he also helped me with the Startup Grind Cape Town chapter because he'd been the one to also
Okay.
start it back in his days. But
Okay.
so I did the interview, and then on the spot, he was like, "Okay, cool. I like you. You've got the job." So I'm like, "Nice, nice, 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 nice." And then the following day, documents are coming through via like, "Okay, this is your offer. Contracts are being signed." And
Yeah.
following week, I started, and yeah, it was just
How
happened.
long were you with that company? How long were you with that company?
I started, I think, in Feb or March. I think it was just right before academic classes had started, and my last day was in December, right before holidays. So it started around
Okay.
that time. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. And then what did you do after that? Like what was the next thing after like this is your break? And then obviously we have experience now, more exposure. Then are you looking into other things now? So what happens next?
So during the time when I was working for that startup, it was also in my final year. So was really helpful in terms of like, okay, guiding what kind of jobs I want to apply for. So standard procedure, when you're in your final year and you're applying for jobs, you're going to get a lot of rejections. So like you're getting a lot of rejections, you're getting a lot of acceptances, but then some of the acceptances aren't necessarily your first pick. So at the time, I didn't know necessarily that I wanted to go into specifically tech consulting. I thought I wanted to go into products. But the thing with
Okay.
products is that here in South Africa, there aren't any entry level jobs. So in the States, they have like associate product manager, then you build your way up. In South Africa, they expect you to come either from a tech background or maybe a job where
Mm.
you dealt with a bit of tech. And then after a couple of years, then you get into product. There isn't like an entry
Okay.
level role from university into product. So even with that
Okay.
startup, they were also not looking to hire people full time. So like my option was, okay, I need to go out into the open and actually do this thing.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
so during my time when I was applying in uni, so my final year, so like I've had a list where I'd said that every week I'm going to apply for minimum 6 jobs just to get it out in the
Right.
open, like just keep applying, keep
Mm.
sending my CV out.
Yeah.
And then one of the companies that I'd actually sent out my CV to was EY. At the time, I'd even forgotten because I'd applied almost everywhere. I was getting rejections. Like, you even
Yeah.
forget. You're like, oh, it's fine. Like I'm tired of even keeping track. But you don't even check up, like, how's this status on my application? You just let it go.
Yeah.
So, so after that, I then joined EY as a graduate in
Mm.
their tech consulting Microsoft division, where we're doing
Okay.
specifically implementations for customer engagement apps for Microsoft. So we're dealing
Okay.
only with financial services clients. And yeah, I made
Okay.
the move because like even when I looked at the job spec when I was applying, I was like, okay, this sounds delicious. Like this is right up my
Okay.
alley. The kind of work we'll be dealing with some really deep tech. We'll be dealing with some tech. We'll be dealing with also the business end, process mapping,
Okay.
optimizations. I'm like, this is right up my alley. So I'm like, okay, fingers crossed, let's see what happens. And yeah, it
Mm.
happened. And yeah, so basically sort of
Here
my
we are.
like post, yeah, like here we are. So yeah, post uni, EY is my first job. And yeah,
Then after
yeah,
that, you move to your current job now. Okay. So
yes.
can we say this job is the formal first job basically? Because now you've done the internship, you've done the graduate program. So this one is the first formal job. Can we call it the first job? Official job.
No, I would call EY the first job because like it wasn't like maybe like a grad program where you're doing cute things. Like
Okay.
it was there, like you're working, like you're expected to
Okay.
be there. You're in charge of topics and modules, and yeah. So definitely EY is
How,
my first job. Or yeah.
how was the money at EY? We're not gonna ask here because we already know here the money is nice.
Um, Definitely as someone coming from uni and also someone coming from a middle income household, like the money was nice. Like I thought,
No,
like
it
I thought,
was
like at
nice.
first I was, yeah, like I was ecstatic because like I showed my parents, and obviously like everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is great. But
Okay.
there's always that
Okay.
component of looking at industry standard and what you think you should be paid, and that's its own other topic.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
money
But
can
you
be nice, but if you're looking at your capabilities and what other people have to offer, then you're gonna that's its own sort of conversation that you're gonna have with yourself. Like, okay.
what type of a company do you work for? You don't need to mention the name, but just give us context. What type of company do you work for right now?
So right now I'm working for a global top three consulting company. So
Okay.
specifically, I'm working in the specialty division for tech, where we
Okay.
do essentially like deep tech work in terms of architecture and specifically core tech cases. So
Okay.
yeah, so still same company, just on a specialty track.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you think people with other degrees can do what you do, like can get into the space? So it doesn't mean that it can only be your degree, but people with other degrees, they can do it as well.
Okay, so I'm going to answer specifically for IT consulting. So as you've noticed,
Okay.
the title has changed from tech consulting to IT. So tech
Okay.
was like very, so let me say tech consulting was like very business and tech, so more in between, but IT consulting you need more of a technical background. So you're more like you're still dealing with the business side, but like you need to be technical. You need to understand the tech well and be able to tackle
Okay.
technical business problems. So different
Mm.
level of or capabilities that are needed for it, or more specialized skills that are
Mm.
needed for it. But I
Okay.
would say I do think you don't necessarily have to have an information systems degree to do it. So then again, so in my division, most of the people, if they don't come from most of them actually have an engineering background, if I'm being honest. I haven't seen
Okay.
anything else that is not an engineering degree in my division. So it's engineering
What do
or
you
comp sci
think?
information
What
systems.
what type of engineering can cause engineering Pela? Is it computer engineering? Is it civil engineering? Is it mechanical engineering? What type of engineering?
So it's just, I'm not sure of the type of engineering, but it seems that engineers are just all over consulting. Engineers aren't going into engineering anymore, they're just going into consulting. But
Okay.
I can't say I've noticed a specific trend for the type of engineering, but it's a lot of people, I think, like for engineering, I think even people who make it through, there's a different type of way that they approach problems. And that's the kind of way that you would approach problems in consulting. So that's why
Okay.
specifically there isn't a specific degree, but there's a way of thinking that you get from these certain degrees with like for comp sci engineering. But it's not just the degree that they look at what you did after that. So for example, a lot of them went on, for example, to work in like these technical spaces, tech spaces, where they built up their knowledge,
Mm.
got their certifications, got their experience, then they went into consulting. So currently where I'm working, they don't take like entry level straight out of university.
Yeah, some knowledge, some certifications. No, 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 I get it. So, my
Yeah.
engineering people, if you are interested in this, just know that you must get what type of certifications, Anele? Does something come to mind? Do you know of some certifications that they can do just to marry it with their engineering? Can you share that with us?
Mm. The thing is, it's such a hard question to answer when someone asks me what search should I do, because
Okay.
they're like tech is so broad. Like there's so many realms, there's so many
Yeah.
specialties, there's so many niches. So I'd have to go back to ask you like, what do you like? If you say you don't know, then naturally I'd be like, okay, but like, do you want to be technical? Do you not want to be technical? So for example, if you tell me you want to deal with like core tech, then you tell me like what, then I'd ask you, what are you interested in? Then you could say cybersecurity, you could say networking, you could say just
Okay.
cloud in general. And then it has its own certification that you can get. Then again, you also need to
Mhm.
look at the provider and yeah. So
Oh,
yeah.
Anele, which school did you go to? I always, on this segment, I always credit schools, because, yes, you did well at uni and where you are now, but there are people abaqale lo mshikashika with you, and that would be your school, like your high school. Which high school did you
Yeah.
go to, and who was your maths teacher? Who was teaching you all the numbers?
So the high school I went to was Kingsway High School in Amanzimtoti, KZN.
Okay, okay,
So maths teacher, I feel like I had different maths teachers every year.
okay.
So I can't even say, yeah, like I can't say like pinpoint this person really helped me or this person changed my life. Like I think
Mm.
it was like an effort where
A
just different people
combination.
played a role in my part. Yeah.
Actually, the question should be, I think I can rephrase it and just say, which teacher like just stood out for you? They
I have to be honest, I don't think I had that experience where people had like a favorite teacher or a teacher that randomly took such interest to invest in me in that sense.
okay.
Like, I think all my
Okay.
teachers were amazing, and I don't think anyone was like, okay, she's my favorite, I'm gonna take her under my wing. My parents are both teachers, so if I were to say teachers, they're like the people who've always been like, you're gonna do amazing, sweetie, like, keep going on, like, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Hi, mom. Hi, mom. Hi, dad. Thank you for raising such a wonderful young lady. We are so delighted to have Anele here with us. You've done a good job, mom and dad. Thank you so much. And hi to Kingsway High School. Guys, please don't forget to like and share this video. Anele, I did notice on your CV you have quite a few leadership roles dating back from high school and also at uni. Do you think it helped you in your career and how you navigate and how you maneuver in Pilo? Like, do you think that really helped you?
Yes, definitely. So I think from a young age, I've always just like enjoyed leading. Like it's just been nice, you know? And it's always been like
Okay.
a very interesting experience. But so before I go into how it maybe has, you know, benefited me in life, I would definitely say it's benefited me to even get into certain spaces. So, like for example, when you're applying for university, as much as people say just sports and this, but like leadership helps a lot when applying to university. If they see you all around, like, oh, you play sports, oh, you're in leadership, oh, and you're getting good grades, like that will help a lot,
Yeah.
especially for a person, even if you're weaker in, like, say, in academics, like, say you're not the strongest, but like you're strong in everything else. That's definitely going to help a lot to even get into varsity. And then on a varsity
Okay.
level, and unfortunately, like let me say like internships that I applied to, like let me say in corporates, back when I was in uni, they only looked at grades. So that's its
Okay.
own other thing. They were just looking at top achievers, and for that, like I was just disqualified. Just self-awareness. Like I'm not going to be like the top achiever, but I'm going to be somewhere there and be achieving in other realms of my life. So I think when you're
Mm.
applying to say these organizations that aren't necessarily like corporates, like you're applying for like a job in say like, you know, a startup or like a smaller organization, they are going to be
Yeah.
more interested in terms of what you have to offer, because they're going to say like, okay, you're not getting dean's list, but like you do have leadership
Okay.
abilities. And that's always like something that's very important when in the working world. Like let me say, for example, in consulting, you're always working with people, you're always working with teams,
Yeah.
and completely different personalities. And when you develop, like,
Yeah.
say, your leadership abilities, you learn how to work with different people, how to communicate with different people, and also just in general, like how to lead. And it's one of those things that's a
Yeah.
muscle that you have to keep like
Mm.
exercising. And it really, like, I'm glad I got exposed to it, because even like when you get exposed to like leadership roles early on, you're exposed to a lot of stress, and having a stress
Mm.
tolerance helps later on in life. So yeah.
Okay. I like that you mentioned that it's not like you're a top achiever, because I really wouldn't like to paint a picture of to someone who's here, people who getting all the jobs and the success are people who were like top achievers. So you were okay,
Mhm.
but you were strong in other areas that made you like a whole like a rounded person. You had other things
Yeah.
going on. Can you share some pointers, Anele, for someone who's preparing for corporate? It doesn't have to be in your field as such, but someone maybe they just got their offer already, they are just graduated, they're just going into corporate. Can you share some
Mhm.
pointers with them, Uguti, like what critical skills are required, how to network, how to carry yourself, and so on?
So
Mm.
definitely the main skill I would say is definitely communication. So it's so easy for people to kind of take it lightly, like communication, like I just need to open my mouth. But like when you're saying communication, it's more like you making sure that the person you're speaking to understands what you're saying. Not that you just said something.
Okay.
Like the person on the other
Okay.
end, are they actually understanding? So that could be the team you're working with, that could be the clients, that could be your senior, that could be anyone. So I would say
Okay.
communication is something that it's something that you really have to learn, because like I always thought I was good at communication, but like you enter into this environment and you realize that you're communicating different concepts. You're not longer just communicating, oh, I want to grab lunch at 12. I think communication and maybe time management. I think the main thing that like was a bit of a shock to me.
Okay.
It's an
I know
adjustment.
you just started, you're only 24. You just started, but what's next for you? What would you like to achieve? What are your plans, if you don't mind sharing with
Mm,
us?
to be honest, it's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I honestly don't know. Like I'm in that phase where I'm just like, let go, let God. God will guide my paths. I'll know when it's the right path. Um,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I think I'm still trying to figure out next steps in terms of like what do I want to see for myself in the next 10 years? Because naturally you have these goals like, oh, I want to rise up in hierarchy. I want to be this, I want to be that. But like in terms of the path to
Yeah.
get there, that's still something I'm like brainstorming on a continuous basis, trying to figure out.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. Anel, it was great to have you. I know the village will be excited and they will be just dropping those questions. Don't worry, Anele will come back and answer them. You're such a breath of fresh air. You know what?
Thank
I
you.
know, Shem. I really enjoyed this interview. Not that I didn't enjoy other interviews, but you know why? I think it just seems like I'm chatting to my daughter. Actually, I don't know, just one thing that you like to say to someone who's watching this and maybe would like to be in similar shoes, if not the same shoes as you, like in a similar space. What can you say to them?
Okay, first of all, I'll always advocate for people to consume a lot of media that's aligned with what you want to do. I think people have gotten
Mhm.
into the habit of just consuming media that's for fun. But if you are trying to figure out what career is for you, consume a lot of media. Like we have so much information accessible to us. We have books, we have YouTube, we have a lot of stuff. So if you're still questioning, there are a lot of books and resources to help frame your mind in terms of what you want to do. And then
Right.
secondly, I'm a believer of networking. Like, go up to that person,
Mm.
ask them for a job. Like, go network. Like,
Mm.
what's the worst that can happen? Um,
Right.
like, the worst thing that happens is maybe they tell you
Mm.
you're wasting their time. But like, otherwise, like, just go for it. Yeah, don't be scared. And I think also I would definitely say via finding your thing, because like as much as I'm in tech, I still haven't find my thing yet in tech. I'm still like still
Okay.
eyeing out. But like in terms of finding your space or your industry, I definitely will always advocate for trying to get involved in those spaces you're interested in, whether it be like joining a community. There are a lot of communities available.
Right.
You just have to find them,
Mm-hmm.
like just search for them on whether it be
Mm.
social media or just Google search or checking out Meetup. There are a lot of resources that are available to you. So yeah, and just talk to people.
Mm.
Find people who are like-minded. Talk to them about your
Yeah.
interests. They probably can put you
Mm.
onto someone else that they know, and then it can just be
Mhm.
the cycle.
I just love the point about consuming the right content because I think people overlook this consuming the right content.
For
It just
sure.
helps you with putting your mind into the right state of mind. But anyway, Anele, thank you so much for joining our village. Bye.
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for having me, and hope you guys all enjoyed this. And I look forward to answering any questions you guys can have. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, guys, we've come to the end of this interview. I hope you found value. Please let us know in the comment section how you found the interview. And also, I know you have plenty of questions for Anele. Please do drop them in the comment section and she will come back to you. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.